Welcome into the Sideline Sports Show. Back at it again, live on a cold, blustery, wintry Sunday morning here in Northeast Indiana in Fort Wayne, DC. And Brice with you, as always, here on the Sideline Sports Show, live on YouTube, Facebook, X. Maybe if you're finding us on clips later on, thank you so much. Share the show as much as possible. Get as many eyeballs on this show as we can, just so we can bring more coverage of the Indiana sports to you as possible. Thanks to the Get Indiana Network for having us on their network. And is your destination at getindiana.com to find local guides for festivals, fall festivals. There's not any fall festivals right now. Maybe some winter festivals. Or during the summer when they have a whole lot of coverage on there as well. Get Indiana, your number one stop for all coverage about just Northeast Indiana and the state as a whole. And you can find our show on there as well. DC, how we doing this morning, buddy? Muted. You're muted, bud. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing good. Just staying out of the snow, brother. It's
Yeah.
a lot going on outside, so I'm trying to stay warm. Even though eventually I'm gonna have to go out and shovel that crap. So
You
just
haven't passed that down to your children yet?
okay. So like they're at that age where they'll do it, but like doing it correctly
Ah,
is another thing. Like
yeah.
kind of like that half shoveling where they just kind of like take the top part off and just kind of fling that to the side, and
Yeah.
they take too long, man. Like that's it's a job that already you know how long my driveway is, so I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be standing out there forever. So it's a task that like they will do, but
Yeah.
with the assistance of me, it get done a little bit more efficiently and quicker. So
Yeah.
that's how that goes.
No, I understand. And I wish I could pass it on to my children. They're just not quite old enough yet.
Not
They
yet.
can hold the shovel, but could they really do anything with it? Probably not.
Probably
So,
not yet. Get
probably
get
not
get
yet.
get the little shovels. They sell those too.
Yeah, yeah. I need to, at least get some of it out of the way, so I'm not, having to do it all by myself. I don't have a very big driveway or a lot of sidewalk to shovel, anyways, so I'm all right there. Hey, if you guys want to comment on anything that's going on in the sports world, you can comment right on YouTube, and we'll make sure to share that on our live stream. And we'll get some reaction from us live here on the Sideline Sports Show. We got a loaded show for you this week. We got 3 guests lined up for you because there's been a lot going on in the sports world in our neck of the woods. We got Zach Osterman from the Indy Star coming up here in about 10 minutes as he was all over Indiana's run to the national championship. And we're going to get his thoughts on this run that has been magical to cover. We'll get his thoughts on it because he graduated from IU. He's been in Bloomington for over 20 years as a student, as a beat reporter, covering everything Indiana for quite some time. So we'll get his thoughts on this magical run and maybe ask him a basketball tour question or a question or two, because the Indiana basketball program has not been so great as the football program has been here these last couple of years. We're also going to have Southside boys basketball coach JJ Foster. I know DC's happy to get some Southside love here on the
Oh yeah.
show, and we're going to get his thoughts on the Archers and their 15-1 start atop the SAC on the boys' side, and just get what his thoughts are on this team and how they're working out so well. Only have one loss to Homestead, and that was a couple weeks back.
hmm
You've seen the Archers this year, haven't you, DC?
Oh yeah, I've seen him a couple of times.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of obviously JJ Foster and his program
yeah,
and his system that he runs. But they got a talented team and not very big, which is why they lost to Homestead. Homestead was
yeah,
just bigger. A lot
hmm
of guys that are 6'4" and above. Just
yeah,
that's a height advantage.
yeah,
Was a little bit overwhelming in that game for Southside. They really don't have a lot of tall guys, but they got a lot of people that can ball.
yeah,
Terrence Jordan is one of my favorite guards in the entire area outside of Xavier Wilson of Snyder. But Javon Irby, who is also one of the stars on the football field, is their leader, and helps that offense run. But Sandoval is becoming like their 3-point specialist. Man, they just
yeah.
dish the ball out him in the corner, and Sandoval will knock it down. So there's a lot of talent there, and don't sleep on JT Timberlake Johnson either. There's a lot of talent on that team that I think could help this team go pretty far. I'm very excited to talk to Coach JJ Foster today and finally catch up with him. I've been trying to talk to him for a while, so I'm very excited to give some Southside Archers love today.
Yeah, for sure. They've been off to a really good start, 15-1, probably one of their best starts in school history. I was looking back to some of the old records this morning before we hit the live button, and
Yep.
there's been some really good seasons, obviously in Southside Archer history. Obviously, they've won a couple of state titles, but that was way back when it was still just one class. And
Yep.
since class basketball, they have won some sectionals and some regionals, but haven't got that far deep into the tournament, to the state finals or anything like that anytime soon. But this is probably one of their best chances, either this year or next year, because a lot of those guys you mentioned, DC, those guys are juniors.
Hmm.
So this team is deep, and they're still relatively young, with a lot of contributions coming from that junior class. I think they only have one senior who's like primarily in the rotation, Justin Timberlake Johnson, as you mentioned. So it's a very deep team, and we'll see how they can manage the rest of their schedule and in the
Hmm.
postseason. And we'll get Coach JJ Foster's thoughts coming up at noon. So in about less than an hour. But in about an hour, we'll have some connection to JJ Foster to
Hmm.
come on the show. Trey Essex,
Hmm.
who is a Harding grad and played some college football at Northwestern, played for the Steelers, played for the Colts. So we're going to get his thoughts on the NFL, as he is a big NFL guy, obviously playing in the league for a long time, two-time Super
Oh
Bowl
yeah.
champion. And we'll get his thoughts on this playoff weekend coming
Yeah.
up
I'm
with the
definitely going to ask him
Broncos and the
too.
Patriots.
I'm definitely going to get his thoughts too on the Steelers' new coach.
Yeah,
He's always a Steeler, Super Bowl champ and all that, and he's even today still hosts a show. He
yeah,
calls the show with, and if anyone remembers the quarterback Charlie Batch,
yeah,
he calls the show with him, and it's called the One Snap Count Show, which they they talk Pittsburgh Steelers basically football. So he's still within those circles. So I definitely want to ask him about that. But he's a great NFL mind. He's expresses his thoughts on Twitter a lot, a lot about NFL news, and I definitely want to get a gauge on this tweet that I sent you yesterday about being a head coach today. Right?
yeah.
If you're a head coach today, you coach football. What job is more appealing to you these days? Because like in college and professionals, it seems like you coach, you agree to this contract for 4 or 5 years, and if it doesn't work out, you got to move your family again to a new job, and it's the cycle continues.
Yeah,
So like I want to ask him, if you're an NFL head coach, if you're a coach today, is that job more appealing than just building a high school powerhouse?
right.
Is that job more appealing than that anymore? So that's definitely something I want to bring up to him today, and to the all the commenters. We got a lot to dig into today, so we are very glad to have these great guests and great topics for y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you follow the show on social media, here on YouTube, on Facebook, X, Instagram, at Brice and DC. Everywhere you can follow us there. So there's a lot to get into, not just in the three topics that we mentioned with boys basketball, Indiana football, and the NFL. We got some other topics that we're going to get into, and including the one that you just mentioned, DC. We had some people getting upset online about Notre Dame football. And I have my thoughts on that as well, being a Notre Dame football fan. So we also had Indiana beating Rutgers on the men's basketball side, and we had Purdue falling yesterday at home to Illinois. Tough game. If we have time in between our guests, we'll talk about that a little bit, as
We don't
I
have
know
to.
these. Yeah,
We
I
don't got
just
to do
want to
that.
just for a little bit, just because, just for like 5 minutes, because it was a loss that I think could spell, maybe not a so bright future when it comes to the NCAA tournament, because the way they got beat was not a good one. And there's some things that need to be fixed within Matt Painter's program before
I
Purdue
guess if I
makes
do
it
that
makes
to you
yeah.
when your Packers lose,
Yeah.
or when your Notre Dame Fighting Irish decide to sit out of the bowl game and cry poor me,
Yeah.
and then get fed the pacifier that they automatically get in next year if they're in the top 12. I guess if I do that to you, then
Okay.
I guess I can take it if Purdue basketball loses. I
Okay.
got it. I'll take it. If I can dish it out, then I can take it. I'm good.
Yeah. You should be
Mhm.
able to. You should be able
Okay.
to.
I'm a big boy.
Because yeah. Yeah. So good. 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 I'm
We don't
glad.
have to
I'm
talk
glad you
about
came.
it though. We just talked
Yep.
about it, so that's good.
No,
We don't have to. We don't even
we'll
have to
talk
talk
about it.
about it then.
We will. No, we will. We'll get to it. But we got some other guests to get to here in a few minutes. But you know, I want to get your thoughts because shortly
Mhm.
after the national championship game on Monday night, I came on here solo, did 20 minutes or so, but never got your thoughts here on the show about Indiana winning a national championship in football. Watching the game, seeing all the reaction, what are some lingering thoughts that you have as we are about 6 days after the championship? But they just had a celebration yesterday down in Bloomington where it was freezing cold, but it's freezing up here, obviously, with all the snow coming down. But what were your thoughts on Indiana winning the national
Yeah.
championship?
I mean, huge. I mean, statistically, neither quarterback had a great showing
Right.
in the championship, which is crazy because we thought it was going to be the complete opposite. We thought the quarterbacks were going to be, the big, they're going to put up these crazy stats. Carson Beck is like 30 years old, so I figured he would be, ready for that kind of environment. But
Yeah.
apparently I don't want to say he played terribly, but he was definitely carried, with help from Malachi Tony, who, man, Malachi Tony is the real deal, man. That performance has got to go down as one of the top performances in a national championship. But also, in addition to that, Mark Fletcher Jr. Also with a couple touchdowns, 112 yards. Those guys saved Miami. Honestly,
Yeah.
those guys' performances are what helped keep them in the game. But at the end of the day, we said that we thought IU was the better team, and they showed that down the stretch. Mendoza didn't even have the greatest game, but when it comes down to those moments, man, that rushing touchdown and him getting into the end zone, that is the stuff that sets, championship teams apart from just talented teams. That is why, moments like that is what sets the Indiana Hoosiers apart from the rest of the country and why they won. As a Purdue fan, it is really rough to watch IU have all this success this season and last season.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, man, it's great for sports. It's great for college football to have these kind of stories. For so long we were accustomed to watching SEC teams win all the time, always going. We always watch Ohio State in the championship. It gets boring, man. You get tired of seeing the same teams in. So with this playoff and the transfer portal now and it helps create a more level field around college football. So to watch IU success this season and watch them cap it all off with that championship, it felt great, man, to be honest. And also, and your score prediction was pretty close, wasn't it? I thought it was going to be a
It
blowout,
was.
so I was way off.
Yeah.
We both had
Yeah.
IU, but I thought IU would have ran away with it a little bit more. But your score was a lot closer.
Yeah, as we were watching the game, I had 31-21 on as we predicted on last
Yeah.
week's show, and I thought, as they were driving down, I was like, they're going to score a touchdown here and we're going to get my exact score, but they end up settling for that field goal before Miami went down and threw the interception to Sharp. So it was a really good game, a magical game, came the end to a magical season. And to get more thoughts on that, we're going to bring on a guest that you and I have both known for quite some time and have had conversations with in the past, and that's Zach Osterman of the Indy Star joining us here on the Sideline Sports Show. Zach, thank you so much for joining us, and I just want to get your thoughts on the totality of this run. What's it been like to cover this run in particular after covering this team for a couple of decades?
Yeah, I mean, it really does kind of feel like it stretches back to last year in a lot of ways. I think, last season was a bit more, I don't know what the word would be. It was a bit more just um, sort of happening too fast for anybody to kind of fully appreciate, probably just like, what all was sort of unfolding. I think this year was maybe more compelling in a traditional sense because we had an idea that Indiana would be good. We didn't necessarily think they would be this good, but I mean, like I when I did my preseason schedule prediction, I said they would go to the playoff again. I think I had them with 10 wins in the regular season, obviously, too short, but this year was in some ways a little bit more of a traditional kind of journey to sort of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, kind of chronicle But as it unfolded, you also kind of realized you were covering something special. And I think that probably, the Oregon game was the first big one. I think probably it really started to come into relief. And forgive me, I'm very cold. I just got done shoveling half my driveway. I think the Big Ten championship game and the way they won that game and who they beat, frankly, in that game, number 1 Ohio State. I think that was when you kind of got the sense that this team was capable of essentially anything. If they can win that game, if they can beat Ohio State straight up, no home field advantage, no weather, no weirdness, just sort of good on good. That was when I think it maybe felt like it sort of accelerated at a certain pace to, not just, hey, this is a really good team, this is a really good story again, but really this team maybe can win a national championship. And that was when I think it really kind of graduated to a whole other level of kind of remarkable.
Yeah, that was the dust settles. We watched the big celebration yesterday. Transfer portal we still get news on that. I had a very successful transfer portal as well. So, what do you think after all this has been said and done, this championship run by the Hoosiers this year, what has it done for the program at this point?
Well, I mean, I don't know that, I don't mean to be dramatic, but I don't think words can really quite do it justice. And what I mean by that is I think, it has completely reframed the conversation around Indiana football, and this is, for a long time, we talked about Indiana and we pointed to Barry Alvarez's Wisconsin or Gary Barnett's Northwestern or Joe Tiller's Purdue. But Indiana's now accomplished something none of those programs ever did. And really, you can make an argument that, there's an extent to which Indiana did that last year. I understand they didn't make the Rose Bowl, but certainly, if we are sort of adjusting for different eras and different, sort of considerations, there's an argument that Indiana was already kind of at or near the top of that, that sort of food chain of Big Ten programs that had kind of reversed their fortunes historically last season. And then, to go so much further this year, from the narrative perspective, I'm not the only one who's argued this, that I think there's an argument that this is the best college football story ever told. But from today is, Sunday morning after the championship celebration, as Curt Cignetti said, basically he said it not in so many words, but he basically just said, this season's over today, next season starts tomorrow. If we're framing it through, or if we're asking sort of how it is framed through that lens, Indiana has turned itself into a genuine national powerhouse, at a level that I certainly don't think anyone thought was possible. And that is, you mentioned the portal and different things, that there are some modern conventions that maybe allow for that in ways that wouldn't have been possible, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago. But, listen, Indiana's going to be a national title contender again next year. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say they're going to win it because there's a lot we don't know. They got a lot to replace. As you alluded to, they've had a really good sort of on paper portal haul so far. There's still work to be done. And then there's obviously also the job of fitting all those pieces into the right places. But, we're going to talk about Indiana for the foreseeable future the way we talk about the best teams in the country, because they are one. And this was not, they're compared a lot to LSU in 2019, and I'm not taking anything away from LSU, but LSU transferred in a generational quarterback, which Indiana did as well. And then LSU had 3 NFL wide receivers at one time. And that was pretty much what made LSU what LSU was. There were some, Clyde Edwards-Helaire wound up playing the NFL. Some of their defensive players were really good, et cetera. But like Indiana was good because it was well coached, well developed, well structured. Scheme was good. The play calling was smart. Like this worked because the blueprint worked. And as long as the blueprint's here, I don't think Indiana's going anywhere.
Yeah. When thinking back on the game, and obviously Mendoza has the run on 4th and 5, and that play is going to be remembered forever in Indiana lore. Where does that play rank? Obviously, it's near the top, but is it the top for you in Indiana football history? Because I think when first imagine, I compared it, I had a instant reaction show right after the game last on Monday, and I thought that play replaced the Michael Penix reach out in hitting the pylon. I think that in Mendoza's play, I think is the top play, and I what say you? Because I think it's got to be near the top, if not at the top.
I mean, I don't know how you could. I mean, the only other argument you could make would probably be the punt block, right?
Yeah.
And the punt block's really important, and in some ways, probably is more the difference in the game than the Mendoza touchdown, just in the sense of who played a cleaner game, who executed better in all three phases, etc. But there, if you're talking about, I mean, Pat Coogan called it probably the greatest play in Indiana football history. When you were having that conversation, like there is a bit of a narrative or poetic element to something like that. Like there is I'm trying to, I mean, like there's like I'm trying to think of a good comparative example. Like the Vince Young run in the Rose Bowl. That were there other better plays in that Rose Bowl? I'd have to go back and watch, but like from an athletic perspective or a schematic perspective, yeah, probably.
Right.
But there's an element to which that play is the most important play because it's a remarkable feat of football that is also the moment that will be frozen in time that we will remember forever. Up until that moment, the answer is probably the Omar Cooper touchdown against Penn State, and yet now that feels so small by comparison, not because it wasn't a remarkable play, it was, but the stakes were so much higher here. And so I think there's that element of it's the meeting of the play call, which had a run pass element to it, and it's kind of like, first to Mendoza's credit, how quickly he diagnoses the coverage post snap and realizes that the pass isn't there. A lot of quarterbacks would probably wait half a beat longer to see if something developed. It is the way they tweaked the blocking scheme on the run element, which was the quarterback draw. If it's, as an RPO, the pass element is what Mendoza looked at first because the run element was a quarterback draw. And then it is obviously the physical effort, by Mendoza and his blockers. Coogan lays an important block. Kalen Black lays an important block. There's even kind of the symmetry of it being Wesley Basaint, who I guess knocked Mendoza out of the Cal Miami game last year.
Yeah.
That's the player that Mendoza, with Kalen Black's help, admittedly, kind of runs over on his way to the end zone. And then, that's the poster moment. Like that's going to be up on a wall in a kid's bedroom all over Indiana, in 10 years. And so it is, were there feats of athletic achievement individually that Indiana, performed this season that were more impressive, that maybe even Fernando Mendoza performed this season that were more impressive? Probably. But, in terms of like the narrative arc of the season sort of intersecting with the play itself, I don't see how that's not, the most important, or at least the most memorable play in Indiana football history.
So the big celebration at Merchants Bank Field and Memorial Stadium, the title celebration, you were there. Describe the environment. Talk about what were the discussions like at this celebration for my IU fans?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I was surprised. I mean, there were probably I would guess about 15,000 people there. I was surprised there were that many there. It was so cold. Like, I mean, and I'm not even joking. Yeah. Like I have these like big North Face skiing gloves. And I would pull my hand out to film something happening, the team running onto the field or whatever. And like if my hand was out of my gloves for more than 2 minutes, I couldn't feel it anymore. Like it was so cold, and I hope everyone was okay. I mean, you got to a point where like both Don Fisher and Kurt Signetti were struggling to enunciate their words because, like, I mean, your face gets so numb that, like, I rode Little Five in college, and we would train in the winter, and there would be rides where you couldn't talk because your face was so numb. Your lips could not shape to make the words, and that's how cold it was, even up on that stage. And so, I was surprised there were that many people there. Obviously, Indiana had to do it then. So many of these guys have finished school now. A lot of them are going to go off in a lot of different directions for NFL draft prep. Like you weren't going to get, I mean, I don't think they even had the full team there yesterday. I'm assuming a lot of the guys who've transferred out are already at their new schools. But like the only chance you were going to have to get even a decent amount of the team, a good amount of that team together in that one place, it was going to have to be as soon as possible. And then obviously there was the winter storm coming and blah, blah, blah. The point is Indiana had to do it then. Listen, it was, I think it was fitting in some ways. Of course, they would have liked a fuller stadium. I think the reason to me, and this is just my personal opinion, other people can feel differently. I thought it was fine. It was obviously subdued because of the weather and the crowd. But you also remember, the Rose Bowl was 80-20 IU fans. It seats 90,000 people. What's 9 times 8? 72? Yep. So there were probably 70 to 75,000 Indiana fans at the Rose Bowl. Mercedes-Benz seats about 74, and I would guess it was at least 92 to 93% Indiana fans. So that's another 60-something. Indiana fans, I feel pretty confident saying outnumbered Miami fans in Miami Gardens. So that's another, I don't know, 40-ish, 35-ish. My point is, it's not like Indiana fans didn't have opportunities to celebrate with this team. Even if you go back, like there was an extent, I'm a big soccer fan. There was an extent to which like it started to feel the way it feels when like a soccer team goes on like a long European Cup run and you have thousands and thousands of fans that follow them all over the continent. And they come back with these stories of, crazy travel stories of how they got there and the floor they slept on, or, the train station they slept in just to get there. And it was all worthwhile because we had this wonderful celebration at the end. Yeah. It's a shame that Indiana couldn't do, something a little bit more substantial at the back end. And of course, like, a parade is not practical in January in Indiana. But, Indiana had so many of those moments. There were a few thousand fans in the stands in Eugene. I would guess there were 15 to 20,000 fans in the stands at the Maryland game. Indiana fans comfortably outnumbered Purdue fans in the Bucket game, even though it was in West Lafayette. And then you talk about Indianapolis, Pasadena, Atlanta, and Miami. Like, Indiana fans celebrated with this team. They feeded this team. They honored this team. And so the celebration yesterday was, I think, about the best anybody could hope for. It was obviously affected by the weather and just everything around that. But it's not like this fan base didn't get to celebrate this team in person. There were so many moments where they really, really were able to kind of show that public passion and that public embrace of what this team was accomplishing. And so I think it was, if nothing else, just to have all the trophies on one stage at one time, I think was a fitting end.
Yeah, for sure. And I think somebody needs to get Signetti some new swag. He's still wearing the playoff run stuff from last year. I think he's wearing like the 24 playoff. He needs to get some swag, update his wardrobe a little bit. But just for you, I mean, obviously you were a student at IU. You've been on the beat for a long time. Did you ever think anything like this was possible? Obviously, because you've seen the lows for sure of this program, and obviously you've seen the high now. Was any of this in your mind as a student, as an early beat reporter, any of this even imaginable?
No, I mean, it really wasn't. And, honestly, I say this all the time. Like I never really would have considered myself an IU fan. mostly because I wanted to do this for so long that was always kind of my, and I grew up in Georgia. I didn't grow up here, which, days like this, I wonder why I ever left. But although I think there's ice down there and we'll take snow over ice any day. So
absolutely.
No, listen, can you find, pictures of me somewhere, probably on Facebook wearing Indiana gear? Yeah, of course, because I was a student there and you embrace it. But like, even as someone who has been, neutral and objective on all of this for a long time, to kind of each of your questions in turn, no, I never would have imagined something like this was possible. I think you would have imagined that maybe you would imagine that certainly Indiana could be more competitive in football, that if it made more of a concerted effort, which it did for a number of years in resource allocation and staffing and fan support and so forth, that Indiana could be something like what it was under Kevin Wilson and Tom Allen, which was consistently, in the bowl conversation, somewhere between 5 and 8 wins, winning some meaningful recruiting battles. You think about like a Michael Penix, for example, or a Tywan Mullen, players like that. And holding its own at a level below the Big Ten's best. And then maybe, especially in the divisional structure, maybe you get a year where Michigan's down, you beat Penn State at home, Ohio State's got some weird thing going on, you win a tiebreaker, and then you get some sad sack Big Ten West program in Indianapolis and you beat them and you win a Big Ten title. The idea of this, of not just 16-0, but I mean, they beat Oregon twice. They pummeled Illinois. They won at Iowa, at Oregon, at Penn State. They beat Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon again, and then Miami in Miami. Like, that is – it would have been hard, but the only thing they didn't have to do was beat an SEC team in Atlanta. And like, honestly, if you want to know why they were in the Peach Bowl, like, it was in part because the number 1 seed gets a little bit of preference, and they basically said, we would like the Peach Bowl as our semifinal so long as you promise us there won't be an SEC team on our side of the bracket, because they didn't want to face an Alabama or a Georgia or maybe even an Ole Miss, although that probably would have been more of a 50-50 proposition. But, the idea that Indiana could be so dominant, not just maybe win a Big Ten title, once in a blue moon, but win a national championship and in the fashion they did, is so difficult for us to sort of fathom all the way up until last year, and last year, certainly Curt Cignetti is adamant. Last year set the stage for this year and so forth. But all the way up until last year, it would have been anathema to all of our experience, not just of Indiana football, but of what is possible in college football in general. The college football was for generations, it was the most cast driven of all major American team sports. It was the hardest one to break through because it had the smallest path to a championship, right? Only 2 teams got to play for one forever. And all of the conventions and institutions that existed in college football had calcified to a place where they overwhelmingly supported schools programs that were already elite, that already had the money, the resources, the fan base, the cultural expectations, etc. It had a harder ceiling to break through than anything else. There was no parity mechanism at all, no draft, no free agency, no salary cap, nothing. I think we all underestimated how quickly some of these things would become parity mechanisms, NIL and all that stuff. But then the idea that it was Indiana that would do it, not maybe an Auburn or like a Nebraska pulling itself back up, Iowa sort of going up a level beyond what we've come to expect of Kirk Ferentz, but that it was Indiana, I think was what was remarkable. And professionally speaking, I tell people this all the time, because when you cover a team that struggles, invariably someone somewhere is going to accuse you of enjoying it. They'll say you want to be critical of this team because it gets clicks and attention. I'm telling you, business is never better than when a team is winning. Never, ever better from a readership perspective. And frankly, also just professionally, like there's an old adage you guys might've heard in sports journalism. You don't cheer for a win or a loss. You cheer for a good story. What's a better story than this? What is a better story than what has happened to Indiana football over the last 2 years? And then break out, and I'm rambling, forgive me, but then break out all of the subplots. Think about Fernando Mendoza's backstory and his mom and his fight to reach this level. Think about Aiden Fisher, who lost his dad and then his stepdad. Mikael Kamara basically had to beg Kurt Signetti for a scholarship offer. Now he's an All-American. Think about all the players that stayed. Jamari Sharp. I don't know if y'all realize this. I didn't until after the game. Do you know his uncle is Glenn Sharp, who was the Miami defensive back who was whistled for the pass interference in overtime in the 0-2 title game against Ohio State?
Wow.
Like, and D'Angelo Pons, who had to fight against, all the sort of complaints about his size forever, and we can go on and on. The point is, all these stories are remarkable in and of themselves, all the way up to the head coach that went from Alabama down to D2 to give himself an opportunity to run his own program and eventually built his way back up to winning not just the Big Ten, but a national championship. To roll all of those together, like, what's a better story than this? I mean, I'm not trying to I don't think it's hyperbole to say I don't think I'll ever cover a story like this again.
As a Purdue football fan, I wouldn't know.
No, I mean, but like, seriously, this is probably the most remarkable thing I'll ever cover.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was exhausting. Don't get me wrong, but it was a wonderful challenge, and I hope we rose to meet it. Because again, I don't think you're going to see anything ever quite like it again.
No, for sure. It's an unbelievable story, and seeing your coverage, just over the last few months. And obviously, DC and I have been following Zach for quite some time, and he's done a great job covering Indiana sports for the Indy Star for a long time, and he's done a great job. And Zach, thank you so much for coming on the stream here, and we hope to hear more from you, and you'll probably have more to even come out of this as the off season and now transitioning into basketball. We don't even have time to ask you about basketball because I could ask you about,
there's nothing to talk about anyway.
Yeah, I know some Indiana fans on the basketball side aren't as happy right now, but we'll get there with the Darren DeVries era, hopefully. But again, Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thanks for having me. Stay safe, stay warm. We'll all dig out from under the snow together.
Yep, we'll do it together. Thanks, Zach.
Yes, we will. I haven't even shoveled yet, so I'm.
I know.
I'm looking. I can't wait till I have. It's still snowing, obviously, but we're gonna dig out of this, like you said, all together, and it's gonna take me probably longer than it normally would, just for a few inches of snow. But yeah, I mean, Zach summed it up, pretty well. I mean, just an unbelievable story, and the amount of stories that came out of this, because you would hear about them, during the run with Pons and Mendoza, and obviously the shots to his mother and stuff like that. But, just an incredible story that I think will live on for quite some time, not only in the state, but particularly in Bloomington as well. So,
yeah, dude, it's awesome. Us being Hoosiers, living in the state of Indiana, like, it's just good for us as content creators too. It always helps us, as we're preparing for a show, it always helps that one of our teams that we have to cover are good, because it gets old saying, oh, they suck again. It's the same story with this IU basketball team, bro. It's the same thing every year. It's like we have all these high hopes, and then they come out and they're doing TikTok dances instead of getting better at playing basketball. And it's like, it's the same story every year. Purdue, a little bit better on the basketball side. I'm making fun of Dan Dockich. Did you see?
Okay.
A while back, he posted about some Indiana players doing a TikTok trend, and
like last year, like a video that came out last year. It's not even about this year's team.
I don't know. He tweeted about it though, and everybody was commenting on it.
I don't follow him. I wouldn't. I
don't follow him either. I don't follow Dockich anymore either. But yeah, I was kind of poking fun at him for not adapting to today's, kind of like get off my lawn moment. But all seriousness though, it does help when one of our teams that we have to cover is good, because that makes our show a lot more fun, and we don't have to be so negative all the time. If we had to sit here and talk Indiana Pacers, I don't know if I could make it through the show, brother. 11 wins, 11 wins, and we're almost in February. Like,
yeah, man.
Colts were looking like the best team in the NFL the first quarter of the season, and then I don't know. It was even, and I don't even want to hear Daniel Jones' injury. It happened before that. They had already kind of made that switch to going right back to the old Colts. So it's good to have something good to talk about in the state of Indiana because it's been so long since we've got something to cheer about here. I'm a Purdue fan, so I don't never have anything to cheer about. Feels like, so if I have to cheer
not
for
after
IU, I
yesterday's game.
guess.
No, no,
I
not
mean, if I
especially
have to
not
cheer
after
for
yesterday's basketball game.
all right, I heard you. I tried to skip
Yeah, I know.
past it.
I
We're
know.
not talking about that game.
It was. I watched it in its entirety yesterday, and I coming down to the end of it, and you're thinking Illinois is just hanging around here, and they just couldn't stop Illinois, and in
Bro,
particular,
Wagler had like what 46?
yes,
Like, what are we doing?
He was one of 3 freshmen yesterday in the country that had 40 plus points.
Yeah.
And it just speaks to this defense for Purdue that I think is a problem. Fletcher Lawyer, obviously, is a local kid, but he struggles on defense. He's undersized. He struggled shooting as well. So he didn't play down the stretch for Purdue yesterday. And I'm hoping he turns it around because if he's not shooting well and it's all up to Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn to do the scoring, this team's not going to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament or in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, this Big Ten tournament is going to be an absolute gauntlet coming up in March because you have Illinois, you have Nebraska, who is 20-0, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
You have Michigan, who's at times the best team in the country. And you have Michigan State, who's a staple as well, is pretty good. You have UCLA, who can come up and beat you like they did against Purdue earlier this week. So it's I think a conference that is very difficult to win in, especially on the road. But when you lose at home and you give up 88 points to an Illinois team that is very talented, very deep, and very big and long, when you can't match that size and you can't match, the rebounding like they have, it's going to be a problem. And it just, I think, forecasts how teams can beat this Purdue team when it comes to the postseason, because I don't think Purdue's going to win the Big Ten. I don't know if they'll win the Big Ten tournament.
And the bottom line is Braden Smith needs help. Like, he can't keep carrying the scoring load like that without any help. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and this team is just not shooting it well from 3, outside of Smith, who hit a clutch 3 to keep the game close in the final minutes last night. But it's very difficult when this team is not shooting it well, when they don't have it going, and they can't sustain it throughout a game because they went into a lull, and Illinois was able to hit, I think, 4 threes in a row to get back in that game and take the lead late in the game. And the defense was just a problem. They were switching on to Oscar Clough, and obviously him being a bigger man, he struggles to stay in front of people sometimes. And it's a problem. When they get switched on to certain things, and they tried to fix it in the closing possessions, pre-switching stuff, and it was just a problem. And this defense needs to be fixed. Or you're going to have to shoot the whole ball a whole lot better if you want to give yourself a chance when it comes March.
Absolutely. And everybody that's watching right now, real quick, show, as our show, I wanted Brice to mention our show is, involved with this great company called Get Indiana, who I didn't know about until we started this pod. So Brice, go ahead and tell our audience about our good people at Get Indiana before we get into our next discussion.
Yeah, we are part of the Get Indiana network. Get Indiana is your destination for everything Indiana, from festival and event blog posts spotlighting hidden gems, local businesses in small towns in Indiana. Discover something new about the Hoosier State, and be sure to subscribe to their weekly newsletter. And you can find our show on there. After we post the show here, we send it over to them, and they post it on getindiana.com as well, just to give more eyeballs on our show. So make sure you go and follow them as well.
Absolutely. And also follow us everywhere while you're at it. At Brice and DC, we are everywhere. So if anybody, we're streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube. If you have any thoughts on what you would like to talk about in the sports weekend, I know we got a big NFL playoffs discussion as it's Championship Sunday. We will see who goes to the Super Bowl after today. I did not wear my Broncos stuff today, partly because I couldn't find my
Why?
hat. My toddler
What?
took my hat somewhere, and
Oh,
I
I
have no
thought I thought
idea.
you, I
I had
thought
no
you were
idea
just
where she
like,
put it.
I'm not supporting this team anymore
No,
now that
I'm
the starting quarterback is
100%.
out. Yeah,
You already know I support my Broncos win or lose, bro. I've been through the dirt with them. I just couldn't
yeah,
find my hat. I couldn't find my
yeah,
hat. I'm still looking for it right now. I don't know where she put it. So I'm repping the Mariners instead. Got to rep my teams. But it's
yeah.
Broncos already. You already know all day. But if you have any NFL playoff, you want to talk NFL head coaches, we're going to be talking about that later on as well. All these head coaching vacancies in the NFL. We will be talking to Trey Essex, Fort Wayne native. He went to Harding High School, which no longer exists, but a lot of us remember Harding. I remember playing against Harding. He went on to play at Northwestern and he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Super Bowl champion. Trey Essex will be joining us to talk a little NFL later on. So if you want to talk NFL, the comment section is open. We can talk Indiana Hoosiers, talk college football, transfer portal. We can talk college basketball, and of course, we can talk high school hoops as well. As you know, we are a very reverse show where we could talk, pretty much anything. And we both got last weekend we had to change the time a little bit on our recording because I wasn't even here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
tell
out. I
people
was out.
about it because you were down in Noblesville
I
checking out some
was
of the high school and middle school football talent, including your son was also down there participating. So
still
tell
weird.
us about what you saw down there, and then there was a lot that came out of that camp because there was some offers to a lot of local kids, scholarship offers, especially from schools that are close by.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So my gig with Indiana Preps that I got last year, I've been really into covering high school football, all high school sports, but been really big on covering high school football. So Indiana Preps has their annual winter showcase down in
Yeah.
Noblesville. They had that last weekend, so I was there as an analyst, just doing evaluations and uh, talking to players and getting articles up. So I think the top story for me coming out of that was just it's tough to pick a top story, but Maddox Wheel out of Northrop is going to be the real deal, man. He's only a sophomore, class of 2028. Already got offers from IU, Purdue, uh, man, pretty much all the Big Ten schools, all the MAC schools, and he's only a sophomore. He's just cracking the surface.
Yeah.
He was by far the best, not even just receiver, but just overall prospect at the event. So I definitely wanted to mention that. And if you live in Fort Wayne, you are going to be lucky enough to watch him right at Northrop, right at Spooler, right there. You'll get to see him with Northrop. So he's a big takeaway. But another one too, in terms of the defensive side, Javante Eldridge from Wayne, who is also a sophomore, class of 2028. He was by far the biggest, fastest, and most talented defensive lineman
Hmm.
at the showcase. And
Yeah.
obviously with the struggling program like Wayne, who didn't win a game this past season,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of coverage of them. They
Yeah.
have talented players, but when a team doesn't win any games, it's hard to evaluate talent on a losing team like that doesn't win any
Yeah.
games. But Javante Eldridge shows up, and he was one of the first players I talked to for the high school portion of it. And he's just letting me know, like, man, he's ready to come out, and he believes. And my article will be out on him soon. He's the only one I haven't got the article out on yet. He believes that Wayne's bad seasons are in the rear view, and
Yeah.
he thinks the tide is going to be changing. As Darion White, who's the head coach, this was only his first year as coach, so
Yeah.
a lot of learning curves. So, but Javante believes that those losing ways are over. So Wayne has a little bit higher expectations, and Javante has higher expectations. But he is breaking onto the scene. He got some offers right after the event. Kent State offered him, and another MAC school offered him right after the showcase as well. So another name to watch in the Fort Wayne area is him. Who else was there from the Fort Wayne area? Ifeanyi Imadobi, who is defensive end for Northrop as well. He's class of 2027, and he just learned how to play football, Brice.
Mm.
This past season was his first year ever of playing high school football and playing football at all. He
Yeah.
had never played football. And he's already 1 year later has six D1 offers and just got one from Kansas yesterday. But he's emerging too, man. I love watching these kind of stories. I got a story up on him at Indiana Preps as well. How he's just learning how to play football. and is getting these offers. You know, he got like 6 sacks last season for Northrop in his first year as a football player. So he's getting bigger, faster, and stronger as well. So he's going to be another name to watch out of Northrop. But the biggest takeaway was the middle school. Jaden Haller, 2020 or class of 2030, 8th grader.
That's not a real year. That's not a real
class of 2030, bro. 8th grader. He participated in our middle school and high school showcase, and was obviously the best in middle school, but was amongst one of the best in high school as well. And this is an 8th grader. He also trains with Dre Muhammad, who obviously, if you know about Dre Muhammad, trains all the top wide receivers in the area, not only just Fort Wayne, but in the Midwest period. He sent countless players from Fort Wayne to the NFL, and are doing great things. But he's another product of Dre Muhammad at Traction. And the class of 2030, Jaden Haller already received his first offer as an 8th grader after the showcase. Kent State offered Jaden Haller a full ride scholarship as an 8th grader. So his first offer comes before his 8th grade year is even over, which has ruffled a lot of feathers. It's ruffled a lot of feathers.
Yeah, I imagine, because I remember, man, it's probably been at least 10 years now that, like, when I think Lane Kiffin, when he was at Tennessee, offered like an 8th grader. And it was obviously a big story back then, because it was like, you don't do that. You don't do that sort of thing, especially back then. But like, I think now with just, you know, not the specialization, but just like the awareness and seeing these kids that are starting out at a younger age and performing at a level, you know, if he's good enough, offer him. If you think he's going to project to be something at the next level, then give him an offer. You know, I think the mentality on that has changed, and it really only happens to like kids who are, you know, talented, who are that special, that get these kind of like offers. And you know, and I know Kent State has been offering a lot of local kids, in especially in the state of Indiana as
Mac
a whole
schools
as well.
love our area. Mac schools love this area.
Yeah, I think was it Brian Alt who covers recruiting for 24/7, who's like he I think had a tweet about like how underrated Indiana is when it comes to some of the talent. And I think obviously it's not going to be on the level of Florida or Texas or Georgia or even a California, but I think that the talent, and you can find some really talented players. Obviously, if you just look at, you know, here locally, a lot of the players that go play at IU, go play at Purdue, go play. There's a couple at Notre Dame now, Tay Johnson, and Miley Graham, who is now at Notre Dame as well. So, like, there's a lot of talented guys that are, you know, up on those boards for recruiting boards and have 3 and 4 and sometimes even 5 stars next to their name. Can be very underrated in certain instances, and there's a lot of top end talent. And I think obviously you're doing a good job of finding it out and finding those guys and reporting them. And some of those stories are amazing. Like, to not play football from one year to the next and have 6 Division I offers. That's insane. Those are like my favorite type of stories, because they're just like so crazy to have, and it just like, man.
Another one I've liked too was Jonas Mua. Muia from Lures this past season. He's an offensive lineman. He's 6'8", 270. Yeah. He was a basketball player. He was a 4-star basketball player on ESPN's ranking system. Yeah. He was at La Lumiere where Keon Brooks played. He was at La Lumiere, and he's a foreign exchange student. And so he comes to Lures this past season. Never played football. He just randomly went to a camp at Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati this past summer.
Yeah.
Just do something on a Saturday, right? He's big, so I'm just going to go to this University of Cincinnati camp, and got an offer on the spot from the University of Cincinnati to play football. Had never played one down of high school football.
That's just crazy.
So comes to Lures, has a crazy season. Obviously, they go on to the state championship, lose unfortunately, but had a crazy season here in Fort Wayne with Lures, and all of a sudden now he's committed to play at West Virginia, to play football. Not even going to play basketball.
That's crazy, man.
So
Absolutely crazy.
we got a lot of great stories in this area, man, when it comes to high school sports. And as we transition, because I know JJ Foster, the head coach of the boys basketball team, are going to be joining us here soon. Southside has got some ballers too. I know,
Yeah.
when I was there, the wins came a little bit more often, on the across the board in all sports, not just basketball. But they got some ballers on the basketball court and the football field, and one of them is a star on both of them. Javon
Yeah.
Irby, who was at our showcase, by the way. Javon Irby was also there. But I'm very excited, to cover high school sports a lot more, and that's why, when these stories like Southside's basketball team, that is unprecedented, man. This run that they are putting together, only two teams in the history of Southside have done. 1999 and back in the 60s, which I can't even tell you one player who's on that 60s team. But the 1999 team, I actually was watching. I was a youngster going to those games, so I can tell you the whole starting lineup from that team. I remember that team like it was yesterday. But this, what JJ Foster is doing with this boys basketball team is, nothing short of phenomenal. And so, covering high school sports is just, and I know you miss it, and I know you plan to get back out there a little bit more this upcoming year, as we got our brand back, and you're able to get back out more and be more active. Nothing like high school sports, man. Nothing like covering your local high schools, and promoting these great stories. We have great stories in the Fort Wayne area that deserve the recognition and deserve to be told. It's not all about being the first to report stuff either. I've had so many stories hit me in my desk where I had I sat on it because it's more about telling the story more so than being first. Which I'm not. I don't call myself like a journalist because I feel like when you're a journalist, your main goal is to break stories, right? Where I'm a story, I see myself more as a content creator, storyteller. I like to tell stories, whether it's through pictures or video or moments, and that's what we do at Indiana Prep. So I'm very glad to tell these stories. And another story that I'm looking forward to telling is about this Southside boys basketball team. So I'm very excited about that, and I know you were excited to bring Coach Foster on as well.
Yeah, he was like one of the people, obviously, because you have the Southside connection, and as I've been getting more back into covering high school sports, especially with our show here, it was one of the first that popped up on my radar. I was like, man, this team is different than what they've had in the past. They've had some down years under Coach Foster, but they had a good year last year, and then this year they seem to make another jump. And like I said, this team is young. Most of the guys in the rotation are juniors, and one senior. So this feels like a team that is going to be good and hopefully make a deep postseason run this year if everything plays right, and then they hopefully bring back everybody next year, and make another run at it. So I just like you said, high school sports will always hold a special place in my heart as well, because covering it for KPC Media for 6 years, some of those moments and some of those games you get to be a part of are just absolutely incredible. And obviously you have a special connection to Southside, but when I got to cover Central Noble, making some deep runs in basketball on both the girls and boys side was awesome to watch. And you just see the community rally around it. And it's something that, you cherish, and you are just excited to see that sports means something and matters in not only this state, but in specific communities, that gives them something to rally behind. And it's great, because it's like you said, there's a lot of stories out there. There's a lot of people that have great stories and are willing to share them. And that was one of my favorite things. And covering games is great, but I think always, will always be a special spot in my heart is writing those feature stories, those special stories about where you get to see and hear about the behind the scenes sort of stuff. And those are the types of stories that are my favorite, because you get to get more detail, you get to get more emotion out of these stories, and it's always a great thing, especially at the high school level, because sometimes those stories go untold, and I know they get overlooked, or sometimes they just don't get told, and that's why I think.
But it's even better for me in this situation because it's Southside, so I can be biased now. So
yeah,
without having to worry about look, I'm biased. I don't care. What do you?
No,
they're 15-1. They're 15-1. If it wasn't Southside, it'd be talked about more by everyone.
Yeah.
So if nobody else wants to talk about it, then I'm going to talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
My Southside Archers is balling right now. Okay.
No, back in our old radio days when Central Noble was making those runs, we talked about them, and I made sure to talk about them because it was like I need to make sure that people know about what's going on up in Albion because those are special teams. And I know we got a special coach coming on the show here, Coach JJ Foster. Head boys basketball coach of the Southside Archers. Coach, you're 15-1. Congratulations to this point. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe and I hope you're staying warm right now because it's pretty blistery and cold out there. But, just what has this season kind of brought out of you? What is it, meant to you to get off to this hot start? Obviously, you've had some good teams in your time at Southside, but this team just maybe feels a little bit different.
Yeah, and first off, thank you guys for having me on. And you're exactly right. That winter wonderland out there. Hey, thank goodness for technology. We can do this from the confines of our own home. So,
yeah.
But yeah, these guys right here, it's funny because every once in a while, you get a perfect storm. I've had a lot of these guys have attended my youth kids camp, foster kids camp from the time they were little, and they've been ball boys on other teams that I've had, when I was at Bishop Lures and some of my early Southside teams. But, I call them Muppet babies, but they literally grew up in the gym. And, I don't know if it rubbed off, but they got an idea of the culture and kind of the things that are expected in our program. So, when they came in as freshmen, that we competed. And, I always say people, when you coach high school sports, it's not like ESPN where you get to watch all the games and you get commentary and people break it down and give you some behind the scenes. But I think we won like maybe 7 games. But what people don't realize, there were 7 games that, were in the balance that we could have, easily won 14 games that year that we lost in the crunch time. So you look at these guys when they come back as sophomores and they won 17 games. So, I was looking at the growth. I love the way that they play and they buy in and understand the message and the things that we want to do both offensively and defensively. And so, you culminated this year with these guys. It's their 3rd year, and I always, call them my seniors, but they're really they're juniors. But the fact that they've been in and their understanding of everything that we want to do is at such a mature level that it has been a benefit to our team. But you tack that on with the fact that these guys are physically matured. You take somebody like Terrence Jordan, who was 5'5" maybe, as a sophomore, to now he's grown to he's probably a shade under 6 foot, but he's put that time in the weight room and he's got a lot physically stronger. And Terrence has always been a high IQ guy. So now you take his physical maturity with his high IQ, along with these other guys, Corte Wallace, Irby, Sandoval. All these guys are gym rats that love playing basketball and, again, understand their roles.
Yeah, unfortunately, Terrence Jordan is the beginning of making me feel old. My dad coached his dad in middle school. His dad played at Geyer Middle School. My dad coached a couple of championship teams with his dad. So I seen the name on the roster and I'm like, nah, that can't be. This can't be. So unfortunately, just hearing his name and watching him play, because he looks just like him too. It's just one of those moments. But I definitely that helps me get to the next part, because I wanted to talk about some of these guys, because I told Brice and was telling the listeners, and because everyone brings up the one loss to Homestead, which my personal evaluation and assessment, I just thought the only reason they won that game was just size. I felt like they just had the size advantage, and that night It was just that was their night to get all the rebounds and all the second chance points and all that. But what I told everyone is this group may not have all that size, but they got a group of very talented basketball players that all play together as a unit. What would you say makes this team so special? What do you think is the strength of this team?
No, I think you spot on. That's funny, DC. I tell them, our superpower is us playing together and our high IQ. We come out and as you said, the way these guys share the basketball, and I've mentioned their basketball IQ. We spread the floor, so you can come in there with your 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". I get it. We may be hurt a little bit defensively, and we try to do things to combat that. But offensively, hey, good luck with that. I want to, you got to put those big guys on my guys. And, we spread the floor, and they understand, where the mismatch is. They understand attacking gaps. And we're patient enough that, we're not just going to dribble in there 1-on-5, or somebody's going to take the first thing that smells like a shot. We spread them out, go set screens, cut, slash, get over there and try to put everything, to our advantage. And they're not going to shoot the ball until we have that advantage.
For you, and you look at the rest of the conference, because it's obviously the SAC is competitive. Most years, and especially at the top this year, it feels like there's a little bit deeper, of depth for this conference, and where you guys kind of fit into that equation. Do you feel like it's as deep as it has been in years past? And what are the challenges going in every single weekend where you're going to have to bring your A game every single weekend, or you could get upset?
Yeah, well, when you're dealing with SAC, the thing about that, what always makes it competitive, and you don't know who can beat who, is the fact that all these kids know each other. They've grown up together. Some of them went to the same elementary schools, same middle schools. They play against each other in the summertime. So there is no factor of that fear factor where you just heard about somebody and you're not sure what they're bringing to the table. These guys all like I said, have grown up together and run in the same circles, and they want those bragging rights. So when you roll out and it's time to play an SAC game, that's just it. It's almost like competing against, your family member. You want to do better than them, so you can have those bragging rights throughout the summertime. Just us. The one thing that I like to remind people is funny because everybody, all these pats on the back and people telling us, "Oh, big game," and "Hey, you guys in Homestead are coming in," and I laugh. And I'm like, "Whoa, slow down." Remember, we were predicted to finish 8th before the season
Right,
started.
right.
So then that's what I tell my guys. I said, "Well, everybody's patting us on the back. Remember, these are the same people told you guys we were going to finish 8th." And all I could do, all summer long, people want to talk about who wasn't there, who we didn't have coming in. All I could do is as a coach, and I tell my guys, I said, I can't do anything about it. I just had to grin and bare my teeth and kind of chuckle to myself in my mind and just, let's fast forward, we get to the season, and then you guys talk to me. But we want to go out each and every night, though. We remember that, and we want to go out and prove and show folks, exactly, our capabilities and, the potential that we have.
Yeah, I was talking to Javon Irby, and I know you got a few guys that are stars on both the basketball court and the football field. KJ Alexander's another one that is a star on the football field too. So you got a few of those guys that kind of make that transition. But I talked to Irby, and he was telling me about that. He's a guy that he never really seems to get too high or too low. He's just always like, "Yeah, what up, Irby? Yeah, what's up? You just won like by 30 points. Like that's all I get. Like." Yeah, I'm good. He never gets too high or too low. But that was something I was bringing up to him too because I've seen all the the preseason rankings and all that stuff. I watched that stuff too, and that was something that he told me too. With some of the football players who they kind of have that chip on their shoulder anyway from football, but they bring that over to the basketball court, and people like Irby were like, "Yeah, we see the standings and preseason rankings, and that kind of fuels us a little bit. When we get going, is we don't." People don't expect us to play good basketball. People don't expect us to be where we're at. So it's almost like it gives us that extra motivation to come out and beat these teams that people pick to finish above us.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's the other thing, like I said, I love about these guys. I mean, sometimes these guys finish my sentences. And then, and it does my heart well when I look at all these different interviews. If you listen, everybody is on message, everybody is on point. That lets me know these guys, they listen. I pay attention to what they tell some of the younger guys. They're great leaders. And some of the things they're telling these younger guys are all about our expectations and things that they totally understand. And when you guys mention football, their record may not show it, but again, it's like what I talked about when these guys were freshmen. If you pay close attention, they're out there competing on that football field.
Oh
So,
yeah.
I give a shout out, to Coach Goodwill and that staff, because again, I go out and I support, and that's something that I learned at Bishop Lures is, hey, this football thing and basketball, you're kind of connected at the hips. The more success they have out there, the better off, I'm going to be as a basketball coach. So I go out and give them my full support. And, I talk to those guys, following football games. I mean, we talk, and because there's a lot of comparisons. And going into this season, you brought up KJ, and I want and JT. We had a couple other guys who were talking about they wanted to focus on football and weren't even thinking
Ah,
about coming out. Or if they came out, they were telling me, they were going to miss this game, that game.
yep.
But fortunately, like I told them, I said, you guys need to check the resume, understand who I am. I've got a long list of football players that played basketball, play football at a high level, from Trey Essex to who has multiple Super Bowls. You know,
He's the next guest.
oh,
He's
really?
yeah,
Okay.
he's coming up right after you. He wanted to make sure that we told you. He said, "What's up?"
Yeah, I was gonna say, tell him, yes, Trey, yes, yes. But the bottom line, and my point, and again, over there at Lures, you had guys that went both ways. And I told him, I said, hey, I said, guys, let me tell you how this works. I get it, this new wave 707 stuff, AAU of football. I said, but at Southside, I said, our record may not show it, but if you want something that's going to distinguish yourself and show them that you're a winner, you come out the success you have on the basketball floor. Hey, you couple that with your athleticism that you have in football. Now, coaches, they understand. It's like, hey, I want to talk to that kid. I've got a winner on my hands. And the other thing we talked about, the record. I said, give me your record for football. Now, give me your record, your 2 years, playing basketball with us. And once you add it all up, I can see the wheels turning with these guys. And fortunately, those two guys made the right decision. There's a couple other guys that we weren't sure, what their role would have been, anyway. But as far as KJ and JT, I mean, those are two key cogs that have been with me. JT for 4 years, and KJ 3. So thus far, it's all working out.
Coach, does it make your job easier or harder when everybody's, on the same page, speaking the same language in interviews? And is it what I mean is, like, does you have to come up with something new, or is it just everybody's kind of rowing in the same direction, so we're all kind of, in a rhythm? Is it make it easier or harder to, maybe kind of keep the motivation and keep the pedal down?
Now, that's a great question because it's funny. My past years, there's been teams that have made, state runs, and you get off into practices when you're headed for regional or headed to semi-state, and that's what you're like, man, okay, how does the message not get stale? What can I do to motivate? And you kind of, are on cruise control. So, what I've learned with these guys, we already do a bunch of different creative things for these guys in practice. And it's funny because I get a lot of compliments, especially old school basketball guys that watch our games, like, oh, I love how you guys play. But we do different things in practice to keep it interesting. I mean, you come to one of my practices, we might have play a quarter of basketball where the guys aren't allowed to dribble. So, it's teaching them how to move and screen
Yep.
and things of that nature. We might do something where everything is all in the paint and, no dribbles, but that, you have to learn how to get open that way. We might cut the court in half, but it's all kind of ways that you can get creative to keep things from getting stale. And then the other thing, let's not be mistaken, we have a lot of things to improve on. And right now, like I told them, if you guys want my praises or me to pat you on the back, there's things we need to improve on defensively. And when they get those things down, then now, they've come up a couple rungs on my ladder. But right now, we have plenty to improve upon. So, I don't want anybody to mistake that. And that's my message that I'm telling them. And they get it because I mean, we watch film and I'm looking and I'm that guy. And anybody that knows me, they're going to tell you, I don't care. People say, hey, you guys just won by 30. Hey, you just had a big win over such and such.
Mm.
But I'm the guy with the scowl on my face and coming in and guy by eyes are big, like, man, he's just mad after a win. But yeah, it's about improving. It's about
That's right.
knowing what's out there over that out there over that mountaintop. Dude, I'm 56 now. And if you told him I've been coaching since '92. Different. And Trey, I'm sure, hey, he'll share stories with you about our days at Harding and our state championship runs and just exactly who I am and who we were as a staff. But that's it. I'm not. We don't rest on our laurels. I know what's out there. I'm not worried about who's in front of us, and that's just like the 15 wins. I appreciate it, but our goal is to go out there each game one by one, and,
Yep.
and, and we plan to win that game. So it's like, hey, at the end of the day, when I look back on it, it's like collecting cans or baseball cards or something. And if I look back and I happen to have a couple hundred, hey, that's great. But my goal was just to go out there and obtain that one.
Yeah, and a ton of great wins already on the resume this season, and as I know, and like you just said, it's only the beginning. A lot more is left to be accomplished. You still got some tough games on the schedule too. I know you got
Yes, sir.
Lewis who had the big win. I know you got New Haven, Wayne. Those are some tough teams too. But if anybody can do it, it's my Southside Archers. You're making me proud, Coach. You're making a lot of people proud. But me as an Archer alum, I couldn't be happier with what you're doing and what your guys are doing. A great group of young men that I talked to countless times, on the football field too. The sky's the limit for you guys. So it's only the beginning. Keep doing what you're doing, Coach.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank you.
Coach. Take care. Stay
All
warm.
right, you too. Yes, sir. Definitely.
That's my
That is
guy, man.
Southside Boys basketball coach JJ Foster
That's my guy.
joining us here on the Sideline Sports Show.
My favorite coach.
Yep, and we'll have a connection to him, coming up right now, because
Oh yeah, he
we're
is
talking it to Coach Foster, and now
one
we
from
bring
another.
on Trey Essex. Yeah,
Hey, what up,
What's
man?
up,
Right.
fellas?
Hey, we're doing good. We told Coach Foster you was coming on because he mentioned he went ahead and mentioned you because he was talking about guys as his coach, and you were the first name he brought up. We was like, oh wait, yeah, he's coming right up next. So that was a perfect opportunity to tell him
Yeah.
you said what's up, man. He had
Look,
nothing but great things to say about you.
Hey, he was my introduction to high school basketball. He was my freshman coach, and obviously was on the staff for the varsity team. And so the lessons I learned from Coach JJ have still applied to life today. He's been critical in who I became as an athlete and as a man, and it's amazing what he's still doing. Unfortunately, it's at Southside now.
No.
Unfortunately, he's not with my Harding Hawks, but
yeah, we did
my
not
Harding
like
Hawks
each other.
don't really exist anymore. So
But we did not like each other. Harding and Southside, we did not get along.
Not at all. You mean,
No.
but we always knew where to go to find the hype games, though. Either Southside was coming over to watch Harding play, or Harding was going over to watch Southside play. We knew where the athletes were.
That's right. Yeah, I love Coach Foster, man. And he knows since I got into media 11 years ago, I think he's one of the first coaches I even talked to when I first got into media. I was showing up to media day, and just you gain that camaraderie with these coaches, and he's just one that he's always been the same guy. He's never switched up or nothing like that.
Oh no,
and that's something that I love about him, man. Coaches switch up sometime, but not him. I love Coach Foster, man. That's why I was in a hurry to get him on.
Yeah, that's family right there. It's not even a coach anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
And I had the trifecta between him and Coach Stevens and Coach Gooden. I mean, a boy couldn't ask for better role models to look up to and be a part of.
Coach Gooden too. Yeah, wow, I took it back. My brother played for him too.
Oh,
So man, we got a lot to get to, man. As you are a busy guy, very, very much appreciate you coming on. We got to talk some NFL. Yeah. I know you host a great show hosted by you and Charlie Batch, former quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll definitely let you plug that later on before you go, but I got to start off. Your thoughts? You got a new coach. Mike Tomlin is out. You got Mike McCarthy, and by your facial expression, I think I know where this is going. How is the Steelers fan base? How are you feeling right now?
Let me preface this by saying it took me 24 hours to get here, and yesterday when I initially heard the news, I was actually out playing tennis, and I screamed, "No!" Like, of all coaches to hire, of all the people that were in and out the Pittsburgh building during this process, I was like, I had a feeling that we were going to go that way just because it feels like the comfortable decision for the Rooneys. He has Pittsburgh ties. he has a proven track record, but he's been fired twice, right? And he's getting up there in age. I'm not an ageist, not saying that, old people can't coach. And I'm not even saying 62 is all that old, but I do have questions on if the game has passed him by. Granted, after 24 hours, I came to the conclusion that I understand the hire, don't necessarily still like it. I understand not wanting to bring a young coach into a team that doesn't have a plan at the quarterback position. You're setting up a young coach who doesn't have any experience, head coaching experience, to fail if you don't have a quarterback. And so I understand he has a track record. He's worked with Drew Brees. He's worked with Brett Favre. He's worked with A-Rod. He worked with Joe Montana early on. And so he has the history. He knows what it looks like at that position. So I understand it. Still not excited about it.
Who would you have gone with? Who was your, leader in the clubhouse?
I wanted Robert Saleh. I just feel like he has that mentality. What he did in San Francisco this year with the patchwork of defense, with all those injuries that he had to deal with, losing Fred Warner, losing Bosa, Greenlaw lost him in free agency. For the San Fran to play how they played down the stretch, I was really impressed, and I thought he deserved a second opportunity. If it wasn't him, I was looking at Chris Shula from the Rams. I was on that hype train with him and Schulhouse, the quarterback coach, to be our OC, even though he's an Illinois guy. I'm a Northwestern guy, not really, And so I was going to give him a pass if he came in and made our offense look good. But those are who I thought we were leaning with the history of the Steelers at the coaching position, only having 3 coaches since 1969. I thought they would go younger. But if McCarthy can come in and bring in a young mind to mentor and groom into a head coach, then it's a win. And I understand it a lot more if it's framed under that perspective.
Yeah, I like that. And with the head, and so I think it was Mathau, the former safety, NFL safety, that tweeted this, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this because it raises a good discussion that I think needs to be had. So,
the Honey Badger?
Yeah.
Okay.
He tweeted, high school, would you rather be a high school coach and build like a powerhouse high school program, or would you rather be a college or NFL coach where it feels like you move your family around every 5 years or so?
That's simple for me.
Yeah, it's a good discussion because it makes you realize like how interchangeable these head coaching jobs are these days. And it's like, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, I'd rather just build a high school program. But for you being a former college athlete, NFL player, what would be your perspective on that?
First and foremost, I'm a family man. Before I'm an NFL player, and moving the prospect of moving my kids and my wife to multiple locations is not appealing to me. When we first moved down, we live in Grayson, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. When we first moved down here, I actually had an internship with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I was thinking about coaching. But then once I got there and I was away from the family for 8 weeks and realized the impact it had on my kids, and plus it was a new move for us, it became less appealing for me. And so we also live in an area in Grayson High School, I don't know if you've heard of it, is a powerhouse down here. It's usually nationally ranked in both football and basketball. We didn't know that moving here, and it wasn't the reason why we moved here for that specific high school. We moved down here because of the schools in the area. The wife did a great job doing the research and whatnot. But seeing what Grayson is building, how they built their program, how they get guys to come to them versus, coaches topping every opportunity they get, it's been a sight to see. And it's something that I want my kids to be a part of. And if I were to ever coach, I would want to be part of something like that, building a high school powerhouse, as opposed to just jumping at the next greener grass opportunity.
We got the NFL playoffs coming up later today. And obviously you've been on some teams that made some deep runs. Do you have any stories from your past that you can, rely on to give us kind of a sense of like, you're one step away from playing in a lot of, childhood dreams? What is this feeling like for many of these players coming up later today?
For some, it's a whirlwind. For the young guys, you kind of, you're in the moment. You're not quite understanding the gravity of the moment. You're just there playing. And then you have other guys, vet guys who have been there for a while, where this is kind of like a culmination of their career and what they've been working towards. So you got different personalities and different experiences happening in the locker room all at the same time. I remember, and I've been blessed to be a part of 3 teams that played in the big game. And I had 3 different experiences based on where I was in my career. And so as a rookie coming from Northwestern, where my best year was 6-6, and then coming to a playoff contending team that had just lost in the AFC Championship the year before to Tom Brady and company. They were 15-1 and ready to win a Super Bowl the year that I came in. So I had to come in and contribute right away. I had to make myself valuable right away. And I didn't really have enough time to really think about anything other than what my job was that day. Literally took it day by day. And so as we approached, I think my rookie year, we were 7-5, and on the outside looking in, we had to win every single game just to grab that last playoff spot. So it was an intense last 6 weeks of the seasons, because we had to win every single game to go 11-5 and sneak in as a 6th seed. And rest is history. We were able to go on a run, and we beat the Colts, which was a revenge game. I don't know if you remember that game, the famous Jerome Bettis fumble. That he almost had an Ernest Biner moment. But thankfully for Big Ben and
that's right,
Nick Harper's wife is that stabbed him in the knee. That was the big reason why we were able to pull that one out. But we beat Cincy to start. Then we beat the Colts, and then we had to go to Denver and beat Jake Plummer and the Denver Broncos on our way to Detroit. And so you're a Broncos guy, so you're hyped.
I'm hyped. I don't know. I'd be a little bit more hyped if my quarterback was playing, but
so I do have some inside knowledge about your Broncos. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But, so yeah, my rookie year, it was a whirlwind. I played some as a rookie because Marvell Smith went down, so I contributed to that team. And then we win, and then the next year, Coach Cowher, we go 8-8. Coach Cowher retires, and then Coach Tomlin comes in. Go to the playoffs his first year, and then we go and make a run the second year. By that time, I'm starting now, and I'm part of this process. I know what it looked like before. I know the process that we went to. Also know that we have a very dominant defense. And so my experience that year was completely different than it was my rookie year, because I felt like I was more ingrained into the team. I felt like I was contributing more, and I had a bigger impact on the result of the game. And so, and also, like, I wanted to be that guy to say I'm a multiple time Super Bowl winner. You know, I was already spoiled. I came in and got one as a rookie, but to come in and get a second one, and in my 4th year in the league, I mean, that was just a tremendous experience. And so some of these guys are going into this game. Sean Payton with your Denver Broncos has been there before. Mike Vrabel has won before. I obviously as a player, and this is his second time in the AFC.
Come on, Ed. Go Pats. Come on, Ed.
Right. And then on the other side, you got McVay, who's been there before and won before in Stafford, and then Seattle and Mike McDonald, who has been a part of it with Baltimore. So you got a lot of experience with every single team as far as Super Bowl winners, but the players themselves, this is a new experience. And so it's going to be interesting how they respond to it.
Yeah, and so let's go ahead and get into it. I'm from Boston and can't help it. I got you.
Go ahead, Ed. You deserve to be hype about this, man.
Hey, go ahead, Ed.
The Pats look good, man. The Pats look good. They've had the easiest way to get to this point.
I swear. You know, people will say that about Denver too, though.
The second string quarterback in Denver, but hey,
yeah. So what you got for me? Because like right now, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm a little hurt. As soon as I seen the news about Bo Nix, I don't want to say my dreams were crushed, but definitely I feel a lot less confident about the game. So what you got for me? You said you got some intel.
There are 3 staff members that are on the Denver Broncos staff that I have a relationship with. Ray Jackson is the player personnel guy. He was our player personnel in Pittsburgh. We came in together. His first year was my rookie year. as a player personnel guy. And then Zach Streif is the O-line coach for the Broncos, my right tackle at Northwestern, and Louis Ianni is the running back coach at the Denver Broncos. Did I say? Yeah. So he was with me at Northwestern too. Know those guys very well. And I've had conversations with them. They have all the confidence in the world in Jarrett Stidham. When Russ came to us, they were excited about what Jarrett Stidham could bring to the table before they drafted Bo Nix. And so I think that Stidham is going to come in and not be a liability. Now, he's not as mobile as Bo Nix. You're not going to get those off-schedule plays, but he will work within the framework of a Peyton offense. And I think you'll get more of a quick game, Drew Brees-like type of operation from Stidham versus Bo Nix, who is, he likes to get outside the pocket. He can work within the framework, but he makes a lot of unscheduled plays, and his scrambling ability is a big reason why Denver is able to come back at the end of games like you guys have. I don't know how you guys keep on pulling that off.
All season has been like that. All these close, look, man, my stress level was at all-time high after this year. All these close games, the Colts game too that they should have won, that they gave them up, that they gave away. Mm-hmm. It's been a stressful year. And just to end, hopefully it doesn't end this way, because it would just cap off one stressful year. But yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Stidham and him being the backup, but he's not. There's a lot of people saying he's not your typical backup, which I don't know what that means. He's still a backup quarterback. I don't know what that means. But
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I hope so. Mm-hmm. So what about so what's your official prediction?
I still think the Pats gonna win, but I think the Pats gonna win, man. Y'all gotta stop that Drake to Booty connection.
Yeah. Oh man.
But I do think that Mike Vrabel, with his experience, now granted Sean Payton has it too, but those boys seem to be playing hard for Vrabel. And the one thing I will give you is that Denver knows how to get after the quarterback. And that's one thing that the Patriots have been giving up is pressure. And Drake May has been fumbling the ball a lot. 6 times, I think, in these playoffs total. Yep. And so, I mean, when you got Zach Allen back there and Nick Bonito.
Yep.
Those guys get after the quarterback. So they're going to be causing havoc. The Surtain, is he healthy? Is he playing?
Ready to go. Yep.
Okay. Then, yeah, I think your defense is what's going to give you a chance, because Houston should have won that game. But if not for CJ Stroud and many turnovers, then but you guys can think. I think you guys can pressure New England like Houston did, and then you guys won't turn the ball over. So that gives you guys a chance.
Yeah. What are your thoughts in the other matchup on the other side? Both games previously in the regular season close. Should we expect another close one tonight?
It all depends on Darnold, man. I think the Seattle defense and the Rams defense X each other out. They're both going to come up and they're going to play well. Stafford, the MVP this year, and he wants to solidify his Hall of Fame status this year, and the second Super Bowl would definitely do that. I think he's already first ballot, but a second Super Bowl would definitely solidify that. But Sam Darnold, man, it's all on. If he didn't have to do anything last game. No. He didn't have to do anything against the 49ers at all. And his big bugaboo when he was with Minnesota last year was when stuff got tough, he didn't show up. And he would turn the ball over in the worst situations. And so what they were able to do is mitigate his effect on the game, run the ball, and defense played their butts off against the 49ers. He's not going to get that against the Rams. He's going to have to show up and play. And he's going to have to get JSN the ball. Kenneth Walker, they lost Charbonnet, which is huge. Charbonnet is like that. He's like the heart and soul of that offense. And so that is going to be huge. And so because of that, me not trusting Darnold, them not having Charbonnet, I think the Rams take it. Even though Seattle is probably the toughest place to play in all the NFL.
I had the Rams before the season even started, so I got to stick with them. Especially now with Bo Nix out.
And so whoever wins the NFC matchups needs to go ahead and win the Super Bowl, because New England wins. That means they have 7, and we can't have that.
Yeah, we can't allow that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was cool with Brady winning them,
right?
But nah, Nah,
You can't
Patriots
let the Patriots have the most Super Bowls in NFL history.
Nah, absolutely not. It don't even sound right. It don't even feel right.
You don't.
So yeah, before we let you go, though, I know there's a lot of football we got to get to. Because I got to get to shoveling too here soon, Brice. We can't keep putting this off too long.
How much did y'all get?
Oh my goodness. It looks like at least a couple feet out there.
Couple feet?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Nah, come on.
Yeah,
They
it
got
looks
some,
like a couple
you
feet.
just got some wind drifts.
Yeah.
Making
No,
it
all
more
seriousness though,
difficult than it is.
it's probably about. It looks like about maybe about a foot, maybe.
Is home base Fort Wayne for both of you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're about in Fort Wayne.
I'm on the southwest side, and he's on the northeast side. So
yeah, I'm in
opposite.
northeast side. Yep.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Grew up on the south side though. That's why I'm an archer. So
Yep.
Grew up there. So yeah. Before we let you go though, I want you to plug your show. I'm a big fan of your show, which was a big reason I brought you on. Plug your show, please, because I want people to check it out.
That. So come and check out me and Charlie Batch on the Snap Count. You can find us on YouTube at Big Play Pittsburgh. We're also on wherever you listen to your podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. You can also find us on X under Snap Count Show. We every Monday at 7 p.m. we give you the real from the Steelers' perspective, from people who have done it, been there before, played the game, and know how to talk about it. And so, me and Charlie have a lot of fun on the show. We're going to really dive deep into this off season. Obviously, tomorrow's show is going to be heavily about Mike McCarthy and what's going on. What the plan is for Steeler Nation. So come check us out, man. And I appreciate y'all, fellas, for having me on as well. Let's do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure, Trey. Thank you so much for coming on, and make sure you guys check him out and enjoy Mike McCarthy, because as a Packers fan, I enjoyed him for a little bit.
Yeah, he wore out his welcome. He wore out his welcome.
But yeah, thank you so much, Trey.
I appreciate it, fellas. Have a good one.
You too, thanks.
That is Trey Essex, Fort Wayne native, and a two-time Super Bowl champ. Yeah, he did not seem thrilled about Mike McCarthy. He might have calmed down a little bit, but he's out.
Did you see his face as soon as I brought it up? As soon as I said his name, I'm like, I gotta talk about Mike McCarthy. He's like,
yeah.
Like,
he's like,
dang.
oh man, I knew they were gonna ask me about it, but man.
That was hilarious. Geez. Good stuff. Yeah, man. NFL, I'm still rolling with my Broncos, though. You know, I'm not picking against my Broncos. I got Broncos Rams, but without Bo Nix, man, I got to go with the Rams. What you got?
Yeah, it's a part of me wants to go Broncos because I want to support you. And I think either way, you know, we get like a rematch that happened recently, even though like some of the quarterbacks might be different. You know, you had Broncos and Seahawks that met up. Yeah. You know, you had the Broncos and Patriots. I don't know if they've ever met. They haven't matched up in the Super Bowl ever, have they?
The Seahawks and Patriots have, and the Seahawks and Broncos.
Yeah,
have.
But like I don't know if were the Broncos, who'd they face? They faced the Packers in one Super Bowl, and was it like the Bills?
The other one was Falcons.
Falcons. Okay, so they've never matched up against the Pats in the Super Bowl.
No. Yeah, they would.
So,
they've never faced the Rams. The Patriots are AFC.
Yeah. So either way, like any matchup, I think that hopefully we'll get a good Super Bowl game, because some of like a couple of the recent ones have been like stinkers. Like last year was not a very fun watch. You know, you were more looking forward to the halftime show.
Yeah, wasn't I at your house last year for that?
Or
was that the year before?
It might have been the year before, but
yeah, I think you're right.
So, but it's like we just need a good game. You know, I'm hoping today's games are good as well.
Yeah, me too.
I think the first one is going to be a defensive struggle. You know, first one to 17 might win the game. Like it's going to be that sort of game. But the one in the evening might be something similar. I think going to be low scoring. And I heard some like interesting commentary from Dominique Foxworth was on a show I regularly watch this past week, and he thinks that there might be some like rule changes coming to the NFL just because of like how low scoring it has been. You know, like the defenses have caught up to what the offenses are doing, and you know we used to have, you know, probably 5 years ago, like so wide open, so many points being scored, and now we've kind of, you know, gone back to the old days where it's, you know, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, where it's not running the ball anymore, but it's like all these short passes and just, trying to, just methodically move your way down the field, is where he thinks some like changes are going to come to, where we're going to open things up more and defenses aren't going to have the advantage that they seem to have right now, which
We'll see.
I'm always in favor of points. I do like a defensive battle every now and then, but offense is always the way to go for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to the games, man. As always, man, great show today. I just want to thank everyone for coming on, man. We started off with Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, who covers all things Indiana Hoosiers. We talked about the football team winning the Natty. We didn't talk any basketball because there's nothing to talk about. But special thanks to also the Southside Boys basketball coach JJ Foster for coming on. And of course, if you missed any of this, you can go back, subscribe on our YouTube channel, Sideline Sports Show with Brice and DC, and you can follow us on all social media platforms. But you can subscribe to us and like us, hit the notifications button on YouTube, and you'll be able to go back in this video and check out our interview with JJ Foster as well from Southside. Great conversation there. And Trey Essex, Fort Wayne alum, two-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Great Pittsburgh Steelers podcast that he does with former quarterback Charlie Batch. He came on and talked a little NFL, so action-packed show today that I really enjoyed. Now I'm ready to go shovel and watch some football.
Yeah, and so is Ed. He's going to be heading out there and shoveling.
Shout out to Ed.
Just like we all are. So I've got to get out there and start shoveling too, just because I have a feeling that it's just going to keep snowing and we're going to get more snow. So got to get ahead of it now. Like you said, packed show today. One of our better shows I think that we've had here in our short stint back. And
a big guest next week too. Big guest next week.
Big guest.
That's all we're saying.
Yeah, another Fort Wayne native who's gone on to do some big things, and we'll continue to do some big things. And that's what they in the biz call a tease. So make sure you follow us. Maybe we'll leave out some breadcrumbs along the way of who it is over the course of this next week. But like DC said, follow us everywhere on social media, share the show, like and subscribe, because if you guys continue to do that, the show remains free for everybody, and it helps us continue to get more eyeballs on the show and the big guests that you guys want to hear from. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, share the show, do all that sort of stuff, and we'll continue to keep growing this thing. And you guys will be always in on the ground floor of hopefully what this thing will eventually become, that we hope to, continue for it to grow and blossom. So thank you so much for tuning in here on this cold, wintry Sunday. Until next week. See you then.